No one plans to become a survival story. The people who end up being remembered for enduring impossible conditions rarely begin their journey believing they are about to face the ultimate test of human endurance. Most of them are simply living their lives, following routines, trusting their preparation, and believing that tomorrow will look similar to today. But in the most remote corners of the world, especially in places where nature still controls every aspect of existence, everything can change in a single moment. A single mistake, a single accident, or a single event beyond human control can transform an ordinary day into a battle for survival. In the frozen wilderness of Alaska, where millions of acres of mountains, forests, rivers, and untouched land stretch farther than most people can imagine, the difference between comfort and danger can disappear almost instantly. This is a place where temperatures can fall to levels capable of killing an unprepared person within hours, where storms can erase trails, where distances are measured not in minutes but in days, and where the closest person who can help you may be separated from you by hundreds of miles of unforgiving terrain. For most Americans, Alaska represents adventure, beauty, and freedom. It is the final frontier, a place where people go searching for solitude and a connection with nature that has become impossible to find in modern cities. But for those who choose to live there, Alaska demands respect. It rewards preparation, patience, and experience, but it punishes arrogance. The wilderness does not care who you are. It does not care about your plans, your dreams, or your confidence. It simply exists, and anyone who enters its world must adapt to its rules. In the winter of 2019, one man living in the remote Alaskan wilderness would learn this lesson in the most brutal way imaginable. His name was Tyson, and before the event that would change his life forever, he was not searching for danger. He was not attempting to break a record or prove that he could survive against impossible odds. He was simply living the life he had chosen. Far away from crowded streets, traffic, and the constant noise of civilization, Tyson had built a quiet existence in the Susitna Valley, one of the many remote regions of Alaska where self-reliance is not just a personality trait, but a requirement for survival. His cabin was isolated, surrounded by vast wilderness, where the nearest communities were not a short drive away, and where simple problems that people in cities solve within minutes could become serious challenges. If something broke, he fixed it himself. If supplies were needed, they had to be planned in advance. If the weather became dangerous, there was no neighbor immediately arriving to help. Life in that environment required a different mindset, one built around preparation and responsibility. Tyson understood that. He had spent enough time in Alaska to know that nature was beautiful, but beauty and danger often existed side by side. The same forest that provided incredible views could become confusing mazes. The same mountains that inspired people could create deadly conditions. The same cold that covered the landscape with breathtaking snow could become a threat within minutes if someone lost shelter or protection. For Tyson, his cabin represented much more than a simple wooden structure in the middle of nowhere. It represented independence. It represented years of effort, planning, and dedication. Inside those walls were the tools, supplies, and equipment that allowed him to maintain a life far away from the modern world. The cabin was where he slept, where he stayed warm during the brutal winter nights, where he stored the food that would carry him through the season, and where he created a sense of normality in a place where very little about life was normal. Like many people who choose remote living, Tyson accepted the challenges because the rewards were worth it. There was a freedom in waking up surrounded by silence, knowing that the only sounds came from the wind moving through the trees, animals traveling through the wilderness, and the changing seasons. There was something powerful about depending on yourself and knowing that every comfort you enjoyed came from your own preparation and effort. His closest companion in this isolated world was his dog, Phil. For someone living far away from other people, an animal companion becomes more than just a pet. Phil was part of Tyson's daily routine, a constant presence during long winter days and quiet evenings. In a place where human voices were rare and loneliness could easily become overwhelming, having that connection mattered. Together, Tyson and Phil had built a simple but meaningful life in the Alaskan wilderness. But the greatest danger in survival stories is that disaster rarely announces itself. There is no warning sound, No obvious sign telling someone that their life is about to change forever. Sometimes everything feels completely normal right before the moment when nothing will ever be normal again. On the night of December 16th, 2019, Tyson went to sleep inside his cabin, believing that the following morning would be just another winter day in Alaska. Outside, the landscape was frozen and silent. The darkness of the long Alaskan night covered the forest, and temperatures continued dropping as the hours passed. Inside the cabin, the wood stove provided the warmth necessary to survive the freezing conditions outside. For people living in remote Alaska, a wood stove is not simply a source of comfort. During winter, it is a critical piece of survival equipment. Without it, the cold can become dangerous very quickly. Tyson knew how important that heat source was. Like countless others who depend on wood stoves, he understood the responsibility that came with maintaining it. But sometime during the early morning hours, something went wrong. A small mistake turned into a catastrophic chain of events. What began as an attempt to keep the cabin warm would soon become the reason Tyson lost almost everything he owned. When Tyson woke up, something immediately felt different. The cabin did not feel right. The air was wrong. The atmosphere was wrong. Then came the smell that every person instinctively fears: smoke. In a matter of seconds, the peaceful silence of the winter night was replaced by panic. Flames had started spreading through the cabin, consuming the wooden structure with terrifying speed. In remote areas, fires are especially dangerous because there is no immediate emergency response. There is no fire department arriving within minutes, no group of neighbors rushing over with equipment, and no guarantee that anyone even knows there is a problem. Tyson was completely alone. The only person who could save him was himself. He moved quickly, grabbing what he could, but the reality of the situation became clear almost immediately. The fire was not something he could simply control. It was something he had to escape. The same cabin that had protected him from Alaska's winter was now becoming a deadly trap. Flames climbed through the structure, smoke filled the air, and every second that passed reduced his chances of saving anything. Tyson managed to escape, but he had only moments to watch as the place he called home began disappearing in front of him. The roof caught fire. The walls became engulfed in flames. Everything inside that represented security and survival was being destroyed. Food, clothing, tools, communication equipment, personal belongings, and years of memories were all being consumed. And then came the realization that made the situation even more devastating. His dog Phil was still inside. Tyson attempted to get close enough to rescue him, but the fire had become too intense. The heat was overwhelming, and the structure was becoming increasingly unstable. The danger was no longer just losing his possessions. Going back inside could mean losing his own life. Standing outside in the freezing darkness, unable to save his companion, Tyson experienced one of the most painful moments imaginable. In a matter of minutes, the life he had built in Alaska had collapsed. The cabin was gone. His supplies were gone. His dog was gone. And now, with temperatures far below freezing surrounding him, Tyson had to face a terrifying reality. Surviving the fire was only the beginning. The real battle was about to start.